and we're getting ready to go out and look at some more homes, but I have asked him to come to the office first. I've said to Brian, excellent, okay, we're gonna regroup. How about you meet me at my office at 11? I've got the showing set up for 11:30. I've got a couple things to go over with you, and I wanna give you your handouts, okay? I'm controlling the process. I'm getting Brian to come to my office and sit down with me, right? Make sense? Okay, so Brian shows up. We're sitting in my office, conference room, whatever it is. Okay, so, morning, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So, I've got a couple showings set up for us today, so we're good to go out, and I have some paperwork for you, but I just want to go over a few things really quick, if it's okay with you.
Sounds good.
Good, good, okay. So, Brian, we looked at some homes yesterday, and we're just getting started on this process together. Is it okay if I ask you a question?
Sure.
So far, thus far in our relationship, have I done everything that I said I would do to help you, assist you in the process?
Yes, you have.
Is there anything you'd like to ask me right now prior to going out today?
No, at this point, no.
Okay, okay, good. Well, Brian, I feel very comfortable working with you. The only reason I bring that up is because we might get into what we call a multiple counteroffer situation. So if we do, I've got some tools in my toolbox to help with that.
Okay.
Okay. Brian, do you remember when I showed you the agency?
I do, yeah.
And it talks about customer and client, and then the second page talks about working as a single agent in a limited dual where, we'll show other properties listed by other brokers, and we'll also look at properties listed by Windermere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This section right here goes over that again. Okay, it's a duplicate of that. So as long as it's okay with you, we don't want to limit the scope of what we have to look at. We're going to look at Windermere listings as well, right?
Yep.
Does that sound okay? We have probably 800, 900 listings. It makes sense that one of those would be right for you. Okay. So by initialing here, you just say, yep, I'm good with that.
Okay.
So Brian, you agree not to discriminate against any of the sellers based on any religion, race, creed, color, any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Severability, this is one of those boilerplate items. Basically, let's say line 74, the law has changed. And line 74 becomes something that's not accurate anymore based on the new law. The rest of this agreement still is intact. Okay. Singular and plural terms each include one and the other when appropriate, and default. Okay. In the event that a buyer defaults out of a contract and earnest money becomes in dispute, or seller and buyer get into a disagreement, decide to sue each other, do something like that, any attorney fees that might come into that are of the buyer's own responsibility. Okay. So far, nothing like that's happened yet, and we'll do everything in our power to make sure everything goes smoothly. Okay, in your transaction. Any questions so far?
No, I think we're pretty clear so far.
Okay. So let's talk about how the brokerage earns its fee. Okay. So this top section here, number 8, explains that if the listing that you end up purchasing is listed with a cooperating brokerage like Century 21 or Coldwell Banker, or us, even Windermere, the brokerage fee is no less than 3%. Typically, the seller writes up a seller representation agreement with the listing agency,
Mm-hmm.
and they agree to whatever percent brokerage fee it is. Typically it's 6%, okay, that's fine. 50% of that, or half of that, is then shared with a cooperating broker, okay, so it's no less than 3%, okay? So this would be no less than 3%. If the property's not subject to a listing agreement, like a for sale by owner, okay, remember when we talked about that right here? And I explained to you, that's excellent. If you find a home that's not even listed, that's great. I might find it for you, I'm not sure. Brian, I am really good at negotiating contracts, and I am really good at speaking with sellers about a buyer's need for representation. Most for sale by owners understand that the smart buyer will come to the situation with their own representation. That's fine if the seller wants to do it on their own and take that liability and that risk for themselves, but most buyers want their own representation, somebody that is skilled and experienced in real estate, in the dealings of real estate, looking out for their best interests. So I can negotiate that very easily on your behalf. Okay? So if it's not subject to a listing agreement, maybe we go custom build. Builders know, most buyers have their own representation. It's a lot that goes into a custom build. The builder representative is concerned with the best interest of the builder. I'm concerned with the best interest of Brian, okay? So making sure that your timelines we stay within our timelines, that the colors, the choices, everything that you've picked out goes off smoothly. Makes sense? Brian, I don't charge a retainer fee and I don't charge an hourly rate, okay? So we're almost done. So down here, this section talks about, so let's just say that right now I have a good idea of what your needs and wants are, okay? But your needs and wants might change based on life circumstance in this process. And let's say we should look at a house together the first month or so of your home search process, and it's not the right home, but your needs and wants change, and you decide that it is the right home down the road. If it's outside the term of this agreement, that's totally fine. I can still assist you with that, okay? So just let me know, and I can still work within the confines of this, looking out for your best interest and making you my number one priority, okay? So anything else that you want to tell me about the home buying process that we haven't talked about as of yet?
The percentage that we pay you is what?
It's not less than 3%. Do
Okay.
you have a
That
question
seems-
about that?
Yeah, I mean, that just seems like a lot to pay a realtor. Can you
Okay.
explain that to me?
Sure, absolutely. Well, you're technically not paying for that if you allow me to assist you. So when the seller, remember when I said the seller signs their seller rep agreement, and that is the exclusive right to sell with the listing office, okay? And so they've agreed in the listing to pay a percentage, whatever that would be. Typically it's 6%, okay? Not always, but it is usually 6%. And then they agree to cooperate with the other agency because they know most of the time the listing agent isn't going to sell that home. The buyer's agent is, okay? And so they're already agreeing to pay that 3%. If we get into a situation, Brian, where it's less than 3%, maybe it's 2.5%, or it's a for sale by owner, and we're kind of in that touchy negotiations, you and I can discuss that at that time, okay?
Okay,
I'm always open for discussion, and I'm willing to work within the structure of what we have, but it's good to know up front what's expected.
okay, I appreciate that.
So nowadays, transmission of documents, fax, e-signatures, all that's pretty much the same as an original. So, we'll be doing a lot of the paperwork, and maybe you're off, up at your home office, don't want to drive down, you can fax signatures back to me, that's fine. So you'll be purchasing this as your personal property, you won't be putting it into a corporation or signing on a corporation or a trust or any of that?
Yep, correct.
Correct. Okay, so we don't have to worry about the authority of signatory. And time is of the essence. We're going to see that a lot once we get into contract on a home. Time is of the essence means basically we need to stay within the timeframes that are set forth on the contract. So if we must do our inspections by a certain date and time, that's when they need to be done. Our responses need to be done in a timely manner. That's where I come in, okay? I make sure absolutely that we stay within those timeframes so that we don't inherently give up any rights that we didn't want to.
Okay.
Okay? Any questions about that?
No, I think we're good.
Good, all right. Well, all you need to do is just sign right here and we'll go out and go look at some more homes.